let's bring that guest in, shall we?
Yes, we have Jennifer Granholm joining us now in your personal capacity, former governor of Michigan. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
We appreciate
the
it. So first, I just want to start because we're in this moment, and I know you were at the DNC in 2016 where, you know, it was the potential that Hillary Clinton she broke the glass ceiling, you know, in terms of being the first nominee and potentially could have made history as president. That didn't happen. But here we are in 2024 on the eve of Kamala Harris officially being, you know, accepting the nomination of her party. You were a former governor. There are very few female governors in the country. What is this moment like?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's so, when you're the first at something, I mean, she was, I think, the first woman attorney general of California, obviously the first woman vice president, and would be, I mean, clearly the first woman president if she's able to be successful. I was the first woman governor of Michigan, first woman attorney general too. And when you're the firsts, you actually want it to be boring that a woman is in these positions, because
you think by this time you don't want us to be having the conversation in 2024
exactly.
the first.
We're of course going to celebrate, and it means so much both from a policy point of view as well as a substantive point of view. But on the fact that a woman is elected, we want it to be so routine that it's not that big of a deal anymore. And we're not there yet. We got work to do. So eager to be able to push the envelope on that and get women out to vote, but get men out to vote too, because, you know, everybody wants to be part of making history, I hope.
And you hail from kind of an important state.
Yeah.
Michigan is in play right now.
Yeah.
What do you think the Harris-Walz ticket needs to do to win Michigan?
You know, there's a couple things. Obviously, we have a very large Arab American population in Michigan who feels very deeply about the Gaza situation. And I think she has been very strong about making sure, A, we bring the hostages home, B, that there's a ceasefire, and C, that there is a path to a two-state solution for a permanent resolution of this so that Israel is secure and that, Palestine has its own home. So that, I think, is an issue and will continue to be an issue. But today's announcement that there is, at least Israel seems to have accepted the terms for a ceasefire, is so encouraging, and we're all hopeful that that is the path to bringing an end to the conflict. But the second thing is, I was governor when the auto industry went bankrupt, when we saw the loss of so many manufacturing jobs. This is true in the industrial Midwest. Walz, having that experience of being from Minnesota, of being from the Midwest, where we saw so many factories leaving and towns that just sidewalks rolled up and people feeling like their sense of place was ripped out through no fault of their own because of the loss of these factories. Under this administration, and this is something that I think her voice can really bring an extra amount of attention, because people aren't aware that more jobs have been created because of policy under this administration than any term of any administration in the history of America. More manufacturing jobs created now. We're back to since the early 1950s. More women being employed than at any time in history. Lowest Latino unemployment.
Does the ticket
than
need
at
to
any
do
time in
more
history.
than to get that out?
Well, this is my point, is that, I think that having different voices underscore that, because she has an opportunity now to build on that base. And what she did on Friday by talking about the microeconomies that people are feeling at the kitchen table, right? So, it's one thing to talk about the low unemployment rate nationally, but what are people feeling at home? And she rolled out a series of policies that get at that. So having that, both pieces, both the big picture as well as the micro, is, I think, something that she is going to build on. And I think Walz and Harris together are very powerful messengers for people to be able to understand and hear and appreciate that.
Of course, the tricky part, though, and you kind of got into it, is that in Michigan, especially with an Arab American population that is looking at still what has happened, not what's happening now, but has happened. Yeah. So she has to balance this. She's been a part of an administration that they say did not act swiftly enough, strong enough. And then also part of an administration that did all this for the economy. How is it that she's going to walk that line and take credit for one thing but distance herself from another thing?
Well, I don't know if she's going to distance herself. I think she's going to build on the base. I mean, if there is a ceasefire that is announced, she's going to build on that, and she's going to have a team that is really focused on A, making sure those hostages are returned, but B, what is that path forward to be able to truly get a two-state solution that is a permanent, lasting peace in the Middle East? Obviously, bringing in our the allies that we have in the Middle East is going to be very important. Their leadership is going to be very important. It can't be the U.S. imposing something. It's got to be, it's got to be an embrace, really, the solution. But that we're at that place now. The president has built those relationships to be able to set up that foundation for her to be able to lead. And this is true, I would say, on the economy. The like in Michigan, we've had like 80 factories open up since the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act. The Inflation Reduction Act provided massive incentives for manufacturing to happen in the United States. We became the irresistible nation for investing in factories. I tell you, I've talked to a lot of folks, and I can't get into what I do in my official capacity, but I'm just saying that we have become this irresistible nation. Building on that is going to be an important step for her. She's not going to run from it. She's going to build on the successes and make her own way. Like on Friday, she announced $25,000 down payment assistance for people buying their first home. The president had done a $10,000 one. She's building on the foundation that he has laid.
Now, you brought up the two-state solution, though, and that has been something people have talked about for decades now. What makes her position and what has happened leading up to this moment any different?
The war, it's just unsustainable. It is untenable. It's unsafe for Israel. It's unsafe for the Palestinians. It's unsafe for the region. It creates a tinderbox. So I think the exigency of the moment requires this. It's for our own, as a nation, for our own national security, our own security, but also obviously for the security of our strong ally in the Middle East. But so I think that the pieces are all there and the allies are there. I mean, the Jordanians, they want to see a solution. The Saudis, they want to see a solution. I mean, there's, the Emiratis, they want to see a solution. So there's a collection of allies that are very interested in crafting that. I mean, in fact, the King of Jordan presented a plan to be able to do that to the president. So I think the path is there. And having a good team around her to hit the ground running, I think, will be important.
I have one more question, unless you have a question. I will defer.
I do, but it's okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, so our last question then is just going back to this two-state solution, and everything is set up for that at this moment. Kamala Harris, though, her primary experience is in domestic politics. Even as her time as a vice president, she hasn't really gone into the foreign realm. What makes you think that she and her administration will be the one to finally have a two-state?
Vice presidents, they get the full portfolio. They're in the morning briefings, the president's daily briefing. They're there every morning. They know what is going on. She's met all of these leaders, clearly. She has, President Biden has been obviously very much leaning into his foreign policy experience, chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. That's been his bread and butter.
Chops, yeah.
But he has been an incredible mentor to her, and she has seen him in action. She's also incredibly smart, I mean, she has that prosecutorial background. Has been able to give her the ability to ask the toughest questions in the room. So I know she's going to be terrific at that because of her strength and her smarts and her experience as well. And she will be able to prosecute the case against Donald Trump as well. And that I'm really looking forward to.
Well, we will leave it on that note. Jennifer Granholm, former Michigan governor, we appreciate you joining us here
you bet.
Today, and have fun at the convention.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Appreciate it. Thank you.